Welcome everyone to this live podcast on Twitch, where you can find the news from the research industry that how our researchers keep on researching on various topics and domains to keep our lifestyle better, of course. And yes, this article posted on our website named postscientist.com. If you are willing to check it out, please check it out. Otherwise, listening to this podcast will be enough for you guys as it acts like an archive on the daily basis, providing you the information from the research industry. So let's get started without wasting any further time. The first topic of the day: researchers investigate batteries without critical raw materials. The market for rechargeable battery is growing rapidly, but the necessary raw materials are limited. Sodium ion battery, for example, could offer an alternative. A joint research group from HZB and Humboldt Universität zu Berlin has investigated new combination of electrolyte solutions and electrode materials for this purpose. In contrast with to lithium-ion batteries, which are based on the storage of lithium ions in the positive negative electrode of the battery, we are working on the one hand with sodium ions as they also occur in cheap table salt. On the other hand, we store the sodium ion stored together with their solvent shell. This makes it possible to realize completely new storage reactions, explains Professor Philip Edhelm, who heads the research group Operando Battery Analysis, which are jointly founded by Humboldt University at and Humboldt's Zentrum Berlin in 2020. The storage of ions when accompanied by their solvation cell in a crystal lattice is referred to as co-intercalation. Up to this point, this concept was limited to the negative electrode of the sodium ion battery. Now the research around entanglement have succeeded in extending the concept to the positive electrode of the battery. Dr. Guillaume A. Federer, first author of the publication, explains with titanium disulfide and graphite, we have for the first time combined two materials they observe and release the same solvent during charging and discharging of the battery. The scientists could observe changes in the material during charging and discharging via operando measurement performed in the XRA X-ray code lab at HZB on the Limax 160. This helped them to assign the co-intercalation mechanism inside the battery. They could then use this new knowledge to realize a battery with two electrodes that both rely on reversible co-intercalation of solvent molecules. We are still in the early stages of understanding the implication of the co-intercalation batteries, but there are a few possible advantages we can envision. Dr. Catherine A. Mizzio, HZB, explained the process of co-intercalation could improve upon efficiency by enabling better low temperature performance. It could also be utilized to improve upon alternative cell concepts such as using multivalent ions instead of lithium plus and sodium plus ions storage that are particularly sensitive to the solvation cell. The research was published in Advanced Energy Materials. So, I mean, it's an investigates on the battery itself, whose discharging and discharging will be very valuable in those battery systems and in the salvation cells. So, it's been useful in various applications like in, of course, in lithium ion batteries and many other battery which is used in same solvent and dissolving things. So yep, let's get into another topic of the day. It's going to be an AI topic, so more who are into AI things and artificial and machine learning projects, it's uh, it's an article for you guys. How AI make generators could help robots. Okay, let's see. AI make generators which create fantastical sights at the interaction of dreams and reality. Bumble up on every corner of the web. Their entertainment value is demonstrated by an every ever expanding treasure trove of whimsical and random images serving as indirect portals to the brain of human designers. A simple text prompt yields a nearly instantaneous image satisfying our primitive brains, which are hardwired for instant gratification. Although seemingly nascent, the field of AI generated art can be traced back as far as the 1960s, with early attempts using symbolic rule based approaches to make technical images. While the progression of models that untangle and parse words has gained increasing sophistication, the explosion of generated art has sparked debate around copyright, disinformation, and biases, all mired in hype and controversy. Gillian Dew, a PhD student in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, and affiliate of MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratories (CSAIL), recently developed a new method that makes model like Dell E2. It's an basically a project available in many website and used in many machine learning projects and AI projects. So, yep, more creative and have more better scene. It's in this project is uh, more advanced than this project which he's giving example of it. Have better scene understanding. Here, do you describe how this model work? Okay, whether this technical infrastructure can be applied to other domains and how we draw the line between AI and human creativity. Okay, great. Question mark. AI generated images use something called stable diffusion models to turn words into astounding images in just a few months. But for every image used, there's usually a human behind it. So, what's the line between AI and human creativity? How do this model really work? Okay, imagine all the images you could get on Google search and their associated pattern. This is the dirt these models are fed on. They are trained on all of these images and their caption to generate images similar to the billion of images it has seen on the internet. Let's say a model has seen a lot of dog photos. It's trained so that when it gets similar text input prompt like dog, it's able to generate a photo that looks very similar to many dog pictures already seen. Now, more methodologically, how this all works dates back to a very old class of models called energy based models originating in the 70s or 80s. In energy based models, an energy landscape over images is constructed, which is used to simulate the physical dissipation to generate images. When you drop a dot of ink into water and it dissipates, for example, at the end you just get this uniform texture. But if you try to reverse this process of dissipation, you gradually get the original ink dot in the water again. Or let's say you have this very intricate block tower, and if you hit with a ball, it collapses into a pile of blocks. This pile of blocks is then very disordered, and there's not really much structure to it. To resuscitate the tower, you can try to reverse this folding process to generate your original pile of blocks. The way this generative model generate images is in a very similar manner where initially you have this really nice image where you start from this random noise and you basically learn how to simulate the process of how to reverse this process of going from noise back to your original image, where you try to interactively refine this image to make it more and more realistic. In terms of what lines between AI and human creativity, you can say that these models are really trained on the creativity of people. The internet has all types of paintings and images that people have already created in the past. These models are trained to recapitulate and generate the images that have been on the internet. As a result, these models are more like crystallization of what people have sent creativity on for hundreds of years. At the same time, because these models are trained on what humans have designed, they can generate very similar pieces of art to what humans have done in the past. They can find patterns in art that people have made, but it's much harder for these models to actually generate creative photons on their own. If you try to enter a prompt like abstract art or unique art or the like, it doesn't really understand the creativity aspects of human art. The models are rather recapitulating what people have done in the past, so to speak, as opposed to generating fundamentally new and creative art. Since these models are trained on vast swaths of images from the internet, a lot of these images are likely copyrighted. You don't exactly know what the model is retrieving when it's generating new images, so there is a big question of how you can even determine if the model is using copyrighted images. If the model depends, in some sense, on some copyrighted images, are then those new images copyrighted? That's another question to address. Do you believe images generated by diffusion models encode some sort of understanding about natural or physical worlds, either dynamically or geometrically? Are these efforts toward teaching image generators the basis of the universe that babies learn so early on? Oh, okay. I mean, it's more likely a model, a machine learning model, and it's also an understanding that how we can uh, understand the basics of the universe, that why the babies learn so early. So I mean, it's a great for everyone, and I mean, it's like an AI topic in the machine learning topic and the neuroscience topics. So great, man. Do they understand in code some class of natural and physical words? I think definitely. If you ask a model to generate a stable configuration of blocks, it definitely generates a block configuration that's stable. If you tell it generate an unstable configuration of blocks, it does look very unstable. Or if you say a tree next to a lake, it's roughly able to generate that. In a sense, it seems like this model have captured a large aspect of common sense, but the issue that makes us still a very far away from truly understanding the natural and physical world is that when you try to generate infrequent combination of words that you or I in our working, our minds can very easily imagine, these models cannot. For example, if you say put a fork on top of a plate, that happens all the time. If you ask the model to generate this, it easily can. If you say put a plate on top of a fork, again, it's very easy for us to imagine what this would look like. But if you put this into any of these large models, you will never get a plate on top of a fork. You instead get a fork on top of a plate. Since the models are learning to recapitulate all the images it's being trained on, it can't really generalize that well to combination of words it hasn't seen. A fairly well known example is an astronaut riding a horse, which the models can do with ease. But if you say a horse riding an astronaut, it still generate a person riding a horse. Okay, it seems like these models are capturing a lot of correlation in the data set they are trained on. but they are not actually capturing the underlying causal mechanism of the world. Another example that commonly used is if you get very complicated text description like one object to the right of another one, the third object in the front, and a third or fourth one flying. It really is only able to satisfy maybe one or more one or two of the objects. This could be partially because on their training data, as it's rare to have very complicated captions, but it could also suggest that these models aren't very structured. You can imagine that if you get a very complicated natural language prompts, there's no manner in which the model can accurately represent all the component details. Okay? Question mark. You recently came up with a new method that uses multiple models to create more complex images with better understanding of our generative art. Are the potential application of this framework outside of image or text domains? Okay, let's see. Answer. We are really inspired by one of the limitation of these models. When you give these models very complicated scene descriptions, they aren't actually able to correctly generate the images that match them. Of course, man, I mean, we already have done a previous article in which they have clearly shown that if we are doing an image like a simple cat, or it's being identified as a cat by the machine, but it's not a cat, it's a image of a horse. So it's totally rely on the keyword itself. It's totally rely on the structured where machine can actually identify which is this really object is, but it still shows the same result from the database, of course. So I mean, it's been very difficult sometimes, and struggles for any of these data model and structures. So I mean, okay, no problem. If you're get sorry guys, I mean, okay, let's read it again. One thought is, since it's a single model with a fixed computation graph, yes, meaning you can only use a fixed amount of computation to generate an image. If you get an extremely complicated prompt, there's no way that you can use more computational power to generate that image. Okay? If I gave a human description of a scene that was, say, 100 lines long versus a scene that one lifelong, a human artist can spend much longer on the former. These models don't really have the sensibility to do this. We propose that given very complicated prompts, you can actually compose many different independent models together and have each individual model represent a portion of the scene you want to describe. We find that these enables our model to generate more complicated scenes or those that more accurately generate different aspects of the scene together. In addition, this approach can be generally applied across a variety of different domains. While image generation is likely the most currently successful application, generative models have actually been seeing all types of application in a variety of domains. You can use them to generate different diverse robot behavior, synthesize 3D shapes, enable better scene understanding, or design new material. You could potentially compose multiple discard factors to generate the exact material you need for a particular application. One thing we have been very interested in is robotics. In the same way that you can generate different images, you can also generate different robot trajectories, the path, and the schedule. And by composing different models together, you are able to generate trajectories with different combination of cells. If I have natural language specification of jumping versus avoiding an obstacle, you could also compose these models together and then generate robot trajectory that can both jump and avoid an obstacle. Okay. In a similar manner, if we want to design proteins, we can specify different function or aspects in an analogous manner to how we can use language to specify the content of the images. With language like description, such as the type of functionality of the protein. We could then compose these together to generate new proteins that can potentially satisfy all of these given functions. We have also explored using diffusion models on 3D shape generation, where you can use this approach to generate and design 3D assets. Normally, 3D asset design is a very complicated and laborious process. By composing different models together, it's become much easier to generate shapes such as I want a 3D shape with 4 legs with the style and height, potentially automating portion of 3D asset design. Okay. Great. Okay. Fine. Moving on towards next topic. I mean, these are the challenges and complication given by are the authors on this how AI generates images by simply writing the text or putting an input and giving you the output in the image form. So, okay. No, never mind. Moving on towards next topic. Novel thin and flexible sensor characterize high-speed airflows on curved surfaces. Okay. The energy and transportation sector often make use of different kinds of fluid machinery, including pumps, turbines, and aircraft engines, all of which entail a high carbon footprint. This results mainly from inefficiency in the fluid machinery caused by flow separation around curved surfaces, which are typically quite complex in nature. To improve the efficiency of fluid machinery, one therefore need to characterize near wall flow on the curved surface to suppress this flow separation. The challenge in accomplishing this is multifold. First, conventional flow sensors are not flexible enough to fit into the curved walls of fluid machinery. Second, existing flexible sensors suitable for curved surface cannot detect the fluid angle, direction of flow. Moreover, these sensors are limited to only detecting flow separation at speed less than 30 meter per second. In a new study, Professor Mashiro Matsuko from the Tokyo University of Science, TUS in Japan, and his colleague Mr. Koichi Murakami, Dr. Daiki Shirashi, Dr. Yoshiyasu Ichikawa from TUS, in collaboration with Mitsubishi Heavy Industries Japan and Iwate University Iwate University Japan took on this challenge. As Professor Matsuko stated, sensing the shear stress and its direction on curved surfaces where flow separation easily occurs has been difficult to achieve, in particular without using a novel technique. Okay, this work was published in Micro Machines. The team in the study developed a polyimide, this thin film based flexible flow sensor that can be easily installed on curved surface without disturbing the surrounding airflow. A key requirement for efficient measurement to enable this sensor was based on microelectromechanical system MEMS technology. Moreover, the novel design allowed multiple sensors to be integrated for simultaneous measurements of the wall shear stress and flow angle on the surface of the wall. To measure the shear stress on the walls, the sensor measured the heat loss from a micro heater, while the flow angle was estimated using an array of 6 temperature sensors around the heater that facilitated multi-direction measurement. The team conducted numerical simulation of the airflow to optimize the geometry of the heaters and sensor arrays. Using a high-speed airflow tunnel as the testing environment, the team achieved effective flow measurement with wide range of airflow speeds from 30 to 170 meter per second. The developed sensor demonstrated both high flexibility and scalability. The circuits around the sensor can be pulled out using a flexible printed circuit board and installed in a different location so that only a thin sheet is attached to the measurement target, minimizing the effect on the surrounding flow, says Professor Motsuke. The team estimated the heat output to vary as one-third power of the wall shear stress, while the sensor output comparing the temperature differences between two oppositely placed sensors demonstrated a peculiar sinusoidal oscillation as the flow angle was changed. The developed sensor has the potential for a wide range of application in industrial scale fluid machinery that often involve complex flow separation around three-dimensional surfaces. Moreover, the working principle used to develop this sensor can be extended beyond high-speed subsonic airflows. Although this sensor is designed for fast airflows, we are currently developing sensors that measure liquid fluid and can be attached to a human based on the same principle. Such thin and flexible flow sensors can open up many possibilities, says Professor Mutsuke. Taken together, the novel MEMS sensors could be a game changer in the development of efficient fluid machineries with reduced detrimental effects on an environment. Moving on to our next topic, electrons with Planckian scattering in strange metals follow standard rules of orbital motion in a magnet. Okay, let's see. Strange metals or non Fermi liquids are distinct states of matter that have been observed in different quantum materials, including cuprate superconductors. These states are characterized by unused conductive properties such as a resistivity that is linearly associated with temperature, T linear. In the strange metal phase of matter, electrons undergo what is known as Planckian dissipation, a high scattering rate that linearly increases as the temperature rises. This T linear strong electron scattering is ano- anomalous of for metals, which typically present quadratic temperature dependence T2 as predicted by the standard theory of metals. Researcher at University at the Sherbrooke in Canada, Laboratoire National des Champs Magnetios Intenses in France, and other institutes worldwide have recently carried out a study exploring the possibility and the resistivity of strained metals is not only associated with temperature but also with an applied magnetic field. This magnetic field linearity had been previously observed in some cuprates and pelletides, with some physicists suggesting that it could also be linked to Planckian dissipation. The researcher carried out their experiment on two specific cuprate strange metal, namely ND 0.4 La 1.6 X XRX CuO4 and La2 X SRX CuO4. It's an configuration of the chemical combination. So, yes, their finding published in Nature Physics suggests that the resistivity of these two strange metals is consistent with the prediction of the standard Boltzmann theory of electron motion in a magnetic field in all ways, highlighting no anomaly associated with Planckian dissipation. We wanted to investigate the field dependence of Planckian scattering rate in the strange metal phase of cuprate superconductor, in particular in NdLsCO, that its scattering rate was previously measured with angle dependence magneto resistance ADMR experiments. Amideza et al., one of the researchers who carried out this study, told physics.org, in this material, due to a relatively low critical temperature (TC), we had access to one of the largest measured ranges of bilinear resistivity and were able to reproduce the magnetro resistance over this magnetic field range using the standard Boltzmann theory. A key objective of the recent work by Etai and his colleagues was to determine whether the in-plane magnetoresistance in the strange metal phase of namely ND 0.4 La 1.6x SRX CuO4 and La 2x SRX CuO4 was anomalous in existence where the magnetic field and electric current were in parallel. Ultimately, the measurement the collected suggests that it was not. We expect our finding to have a big impact in the field of Planck'nian dissipation, a major mystery in condensed matter physics with intriguing connection to the physics of black holes. Okay, Atai explained. We showed that the enigmatic phenomena is insensitive to magnetic field up to 85 T, one of the highest achievable magnetic fields in the world. Overall, the result gathered by this team of researchers would seem to challenge the hypothesis that the linear dependence of resistivity on a magnetic field observed in some strange metals is associated with Planckian dissipation. In contrast, their experimental data suggests that Planckian dissipation is only anomalous in its temperature dependence, while its field dependence is aligned with standard theoretical predictions. We now plan to extend the scope of the research to different quantum materials in the strange metal phase or in its proximity, Atai added. Moving on towards next topic. An an automated system to clean restrooms in convenience stores. Okay, let's see. Researchers 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 at Tokyo Metropolitan University have created a robotic system that could automate the cleaning of restrooms in convenience stores and other public spaces. This system, introduced in a paper published in Advanced Robotics, will be competing in the Future Convenience Store Challenge FCSC at the World Robot Summit WRS, a competition for state of the art technologies to automate convenience stores. Many convenience stores provide restroom for customers, and restroom cleaning is an essential of the businesses. Kazu Yoshiwada, one of the researchers who developed the system, told Tech Explode, while restroom cleaning is necessary for sanitary purposes, it involves mental and physical hard work. Clerks are often inappropriate for cleaning toilets in convenience stores and maintaining consistent cleanliness levels in difficult because of the different perception of cleanliness among clerks. The WRS established the FCSC competition to encourage the development of new technologies that could enhance efficiency in convenience stores. Robotic systems that can autonomously clean restrooms and toilets could particularly help to improve hygiene while simplifying the work of shop clerks and convenience store cleaners. Our system will compete in the FCSC with a view to applying it in real settings in the future. Wada said. The system consists of a toilet bowl, top surface of cleaning mechanism, a toilet bowl, lifting mechanism, and a restroom floor cleaning robot. By robotizing the restroom space itself, the system aimed to streamline the cleaning operation and achieve accurate cleaning in a short time, less than 20 seconds. While the researcher system is cleaning a restroom, toilet bowls are automatically raised and a floor cleaning mechanism stored behind the wall moves to the area in front of the toilets. Subsequently, a cleaning tool with water absorbing sheets is deployed and starts wiping the floor and sides of the toilet bowl while simultaneously collecting our garbage on the floor as the cleaning tool cleans the floor. A device built into the back of the toilet seat cleans the toilet rim. The most unique feature of this system is that it uses a mechanism that allows the toilet bowl to be raised or lowered. Vada said, the toilet bowl is lifted to the height of a man's crotch to reduce the scattering of urine and create space of floor cleaning. Vada and his colleagues tested their system in a series of experiments where it was expected to clean fake urine and garbage. They found that it performed remarkably well, completing individual cleaning tasks in approximately 17 seconds and removing 97.8% of the urine like liquid. In the future, the researchers hope that their system will be commercialized and implemented in real convenience stores. In addition, the toilet bowl lifting mechanism, the design could inspire the creation of similar restroom cleaning systems. We believe that our work could lead to to the development of a new market for toilet spaces with cleaning system. Wada said, in our current system, the cleaning equipment is replaced with every cleaning, which is unrealistic for actual store use. To address this issue, we can now we now plan to implement a function that allows cleaning equipment to be cleaned each time or replaced with a new one in the future. So these are the these are the studies being automated on those restrooms. I mean, okay, man, great. It's basically providing you more comfort in your own life regarding your daily routine. So okay, never mind. Moving on to our next topic. It's not like an research or findings which being more interesting for many of the researchers and scientists. It's like for the normal people, for the normal uh, daily life tasks. So okay, never mind. Moving on to our next topic. Light analyzing lab on a chip opens door to widespread use of portable spectrometers. Okay. Scientists including and Oregon State University materials researchers have developed a better tool to measure light, contributing to a field known as optical spectrometry in a way that could improve everything from smartphone cameras to environmental monitoring. The study published today in Science was led by Finland Aalto University and resulted in a powerful ultra tiny spectrometer that fits on a microchip and is operated using artificial intelligence. Okay. The research involved a comparatively new class of super thin materials known as two dimensional semiconductors, and the upshot is a proof of concept for a spectrometer that could readily incorporated into a variety of technologies, including quality inception platforms, security sensors, biomedical analyzers, and space telescopes. We have demonstrated a way of building spectrometer that are far more miniature than what is typically used today, said Ethan Minot, professor of physics in the OSU College of Science. Spectrometer measure the strength of light at different wavelengths and are very super useful in lots of industry and all fields of science for identifying samples and characterizing materials. Traditional spectrometers required bulky optical and mechanical components, whereas the new device could fit on the end of a human hair. Minot said, the new research suggests those components can be replaced with novel semiconductor material and AI, allowing spectrometers to be dramatically scaled down in size from the current smallest ones, which are about the size of a grape. A spectrometer doesn't require assembling separate optical and mechanical components or array design to disperse and filter light, said Hu Hang Gyun, who led the study with Alto University colleague Xingpei Sun Yu. Moreover, it can achieve a high resolution comparable to benchtop system but in a much smaller package. The device is 100% electrical controllable regarding the colors of light it absorbs, which gives it massive potential for scalability and widespread usability. The researcher says integrating it directly into portable devices such as smartphones and drones could advance our daily lives, Yun said. Imagine that the next generation of our smartphone cameras could be hyperspectral cameras. Oh, okay. Those hyperspectral cameras could capture and analyze information not just from visible wavelengths but also allow for infrared imaging and analysis. It's exciting that our spectrometer opens up possibility for all sorts of new everyday gadgets and instruments to do new science as well, Minot said. In medicine, for example, spectrometers are already being tested for their ability to identify subtle changes in human tissue, such as the difference between tumors and healthy tissue. For environmental monitoring, Minot added, spectrometer can detect exactly what kind of pollution is in the air, water or ground, and how much of it is there. It would be nice to have low cost portable spectrometers doing this work for us, he said. And as the educational setting, the hands on teaching of science concept would be more effective with inexpensive, compact spectrometers. Application abound as well as for science oriented hobbyists, Minot said. If you are into astronomy, you might be interested in measuring the spectrum of light that you collect with your telescope and having the information identify a star or a planet. He said, if geology in your hobby, you could identify gemstones by measuring the spectrum of light they observe. Minot thinks that as work with a two-dimensional semiconductor progresses, we will rapidly discovering new ways to use their novel optical and electronic properties. Research into 2D semiconductors has been going on in earnest for only a dozen years, starting with the study of graphene carbon arranged in a honeycomb lattice with a thickness of one atom. It's really exciting, Minot added. I believe we will continue to have interesting breakthroughs by studying two-dimensional semiconductors. In addition to Minot, Yun and Sun, and the collaboration included scientists from Shanghai Jiangtong University, Xiajiang University, Shenzhen University, Yonsei University, and University of Cambridge, as well as other researchers from Alto University. Moving on towards next topic. I mean, it's being used in many applications, and especially like he's telling about the hyperspectral cameras and in various gadgets, of course, and in design itself, because it's being on the chip, on the spectrometer, on the capturing the images, capturing the uh, capturing the images of various applications. So I mean, it's being used in various applications in our mobile phones, in satellites, wherever the camera is going to be used more in those gadgets. So yep. Moving on towards next topic. Heat waves driven by climate change have cost global economy trillions since the 1990s. Okay, okay. Massive economic losses due to sweltering temperature brought on by human caused climate change are not just a problem for the distant future. A study in the journal Science Advances has found that more severe heat waves resulting from global warming have already cost the world economic trillions of dollars since the early 1990s, with the world poorest and lowest carbon emitting nation suffering the most. Dartmouth College researchers combined newly available in-depth economic data for region worldwide with the average temperature for the hottest 5-day period, a commonly used measurement of heat intensity for each region in each year. They found that from 1992 to 2013, heat waves statistically coincided with variation in economic growth that an estimated 16 trillion dollars was lost to the effects of high temperature on human health, productivity, and agricultural output. Of course, man. I mean, it's a study is been telling you guys that how it's going to affect uh, how heat waves have driven most of the climate change and many other things. So, yep. The findings stress the immediate needs for policy and technology that protect people during the hottest days of the year, particularly in the world's warmest, most economically vulnerable nation, the researcher reports. The accelerating adaptation measuring within the hottest period of each year would deliver economic benefits now, said first author Christopher Callan, a doctoral candidate in the geography at Dartmouth. The amount of money spent on adaptation measuring should not be assessed just on the price tag of those measures, but relative to the cost of doing nothing. Our research identified a substantial price tag to not doing anything. Okay, okay. The study is among the first to specifically examine how heat waves affect economic output, said senior author Justin Mankin, an assistant professor of geography at Dartmouth. No one has shown an independent fingerprint for extreme heat and the intensity of the heat impact on economic growth. The true costs of climate change are far higher than we have calculated so far, Mankin said. Our work showed that no place is well adapted to our climate change, to our current climate, Mankin said. The region with the lowest income globally are the ones that suffered most from these extreme heat events. As climate change increases the magnitude of extreme heat, it's a fair expectation that those costs will continue to accumulate. Climate model and previous research have included heat waves among other extreme events resulting from climate change, such as more frequent flooding and greater storm intensity, Callan said. But heat waves have a unique signature, he said. They occurred on shorter timescales than droughts, and the temperature of the hottest days of the year are projected to increase much quicker than the global average temperature as human activity continues to drive climate change. Heat waves are one of the most direct and tangible effects of climate change that people feel, yet they have not been fully integrated into our assessment of what climate change has caused and will cause in the future. Callan said, "We live in a world that has already been altered by greenhouse gas emission. I think our research helps demonstrate that." The study result underscored the issue of climate justice and inequality, Mankin and Callan said. The economic growth cost of extreme heat as well as the expense of adaptation have been and will be disproportionately borne by the world's poorest nation in the tropics and the global south. Most of these countries have contributed the least to climate change. The researcher found that while economic losses due to extreme heat events average 1.5% of gross domestic product GDP per capita for the world wealthiest regions, low income regions suffered a loss of 6.7% of GDP per capita. Furthermore, the study revealed that to a certain point, wealthy subnational regions in Europe and North America, which are among the world's biggest carbon emitters, could theoretically benefit economically by having periods of warmer days. We have a situation where the people causing global warming and changes in extreme heat have more resources to be resilient to those changes, and in some rare cases could benefit from it, Mencken said. It's a massive international wealth transfer from the poorest countries in the world to the richest country in the world through climate change, and that transfer needs to be reversed. In July, Mencken and Callan published a paper in the journal Climate Change that assessed the economic damages in individual countries have caused to others by their contribution to climate warming. The study presented the scientific basis nations needed to access their legal standing for claiming economic damages due to emission and warming. In this latest publication, Mankin and Callan indicate that the world principal emitters should foot large portion of the bill for adapting to extreme heat events, in addition to helping lower income nations develop low emission economies in the global economy. Sharing the cost of adaptation measures would benefit wealthy and developing nations alike, Mankin said. Almost no country on earth has benefited from the extreme heat that has occurred, Mankin said. Global events like the COVID 19 pandemic have revealed the close interconnectedness of the supply chain and the global economy. Low income countries have disproportionate numbers of the outdoor workers who often generate the raw materials so crucial to the global supply chain. There is absolutely the potential for upward ripple effects. The paper globally unequal effect on of extreme heat on economic growth was published October 28, 2022 in Science Advances. So these are the findings and the study on the carbon emitter, that how the developed countries are being suffered due to heat waves and not and changes in the climate change, of course. So yep, moving on towards next topic. I mean, many of you don't really believe in those things, but still, it's an basically inside insides of this conspiracy theories. So yep, let's see what we get in this argument and conspiracy theories around the world. The conspiracy theorist worldview and language of their argument. Okay, a study now published in Science Advances has analyzed the difference between mainstream and conspiracy articles. It found that conspiracies rely on other conspiracies as evidence, jumping around different topics and less coherently than mainstream text, but relying on a web of interconnected ideas to connect the dots. As an example, the conspiracy theories surrounding the COVID 19 pandemic are often associated with other conspiracies, including those relating to JFK assassination, Bill Gates, and drug companies. They support the idea of a conspiracy worldview that those who are inclined to believe in a particular conspiracy will likely believe in many others and use them as evidence to support their arguments. What's more, while conspiracy theorists encourage open debate about conspiracies, such as that Princess Diana death was either faked or that she was killed by an insider, they tend to refute counter arguments from mainstream accounts, such as that her death was a tragic accident. The research was led by Professor Thomas Hill at the University of Warwick Department of Psychology and Alexander Mina and Professor Andrew Bangter at the University of Neutral, Switzerland. The team analyzed thousands of conspiracies and mainstream web pages using natural language processing, a type of computer analysis of human language. They compared mainstream and conspiracy writing on the same topics. University of Warwick Professor Thomas Hill said the study is groundbreaking as it is the first look to the language of conspiracy theories in such a large dataset of the thousands of articles, and it helps identify that makes a conspiracy theory part of the conspiracy worldview. The implication of this finding speak to topical events such as the COVID 19 pandemic, vaccine uptake, and the apparent rise of misinformation. We can see the potential disastrous consequences of a conspiracy worldview on society, such as less people taking up the COVID 19 vaccines. Conspiracy theories are on a spectrum of misinformation, and to combat them, we have to understand how they work. Of course, man, of course. So, I have, if you are taking about my side, about my input on this article, it's like I believe in some of them, I do not believe in some of them, but it always relies on the evidences, on the studies, on the uh, papers we have now with ourselves. Otherwise, it's basically a conspiracy theory which is being regulated by any group of people. So, I mean, if you have any confusion with them, please rely on the evidences, on the physical appearances, evidences, or the paper, or rely on the uh, sh- uh, that have been given to you, or being available in any of the medium, in any of the dark web medium, or everything. So it's basically providing you the information. It's basically like a, a complex structure in your brain, but you have to rely on your theory also. I mean, if you are an investigating officer, you know that first you make the theory, then you rely on the evidences which is being constantly providing to you, or and through which you will able to get, or to connect the dots, that this is the evidence of mine and this is my theory. So how it's going to prove that the theory and evidence is still same, or it's being very different from our theory. So you can constantly change, and having a strike in your mind that no, this is not the right thing, it's the right thing, and we always rely on the evidence, not on the conspiracy theories. Otherwise, it's going to be always about complex structures in your brains and having a headache, on and on and on. So never mind it. By my perspective, this is the best possibility which everyone, and even the investigator officer, is doing this thing in every case, whether it's an international case, or it's a normal case. So all yeah, okay, moving on towards next topic. NASA InSight lander detects stunning meteoroid impacts on Mars. Okay, let's see. I mean, it's an astronomy article. Most of the this article is being useful, and for people who are aspirant of astronauts, it's being useful for them. NASA InSight lander recorded a magnitude 4 Mars quake last December 24th, but scientists learned only later the cause of that quake. A meteoroid strike estimated to be one of the biggest seen on Mars since NASA began exploring the cosmos. What's more, the meteoroid excavated boulder sized chunks of ice buried closer to Martian equator than ever found before our discovery, with implication for NASA future plans to send astronauts to the red planet. Scientists determined the quirk resulted from a meteoroid impact when they looked at before and after images from NASA Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter (MRO) and spotted a new yawning crater, offering a rare opportunity to see how a large impact shook the ground on Mars. The events and their effects are detailed in two papers published Thursday, October 27, in the journal Science. The meteoroid is estimated to have spanned 16 to 39 feet, 5 to 12 meters, small enough that it would be burned up in Earth's atmospheres, but not in Mars' thin atmosphere, which is just 1% as dense as our planet. The impact in our region called Amazonia's Planitia blasted a crater roughly 492 feet, 150 meters across, 70 feet, 21 meters deep. Some of the ejecta thrown by the impact flew as far as 23 miles, 37 kilometers away. With images and seismic data documenting the event, this is believed to be one of the largest craters ever witnessed, forming many places in the solar system. Many larger craters exist on the red planet, but they are significantly older and predate any Mars mission. It's unprecedented to find a fresh impact of this size, said Ingrid Dauber of Brown University, who leads Inside Impact Science Working Group. It's an exciting moment in geologic history, and we got to witness it. Okay. Insight has seen its power drastically decline in recent months due to dust settling on its solar panels. The spacecraft now is expected to shut down within the next 6 weeks, bringing the mission science to an end. Insight is studying the planet crust mantle and core. Seismic waves are key to the mission and have revealed the size, depth, and composition of Mars' inner layers since landing in November 2018. InSight has detected 1,318 Mars quakes, including several caused by smaller meteoroid impacts, but the quake resulting from large ensemble impact was the first observed to have surface waves, a kind of seismic waves that ripples along the top of a planet crust. The second of the two science papers related to the big impact describe how scientists use the waves to study the structure of Mars crust. Crater hunters in late 2021, Inside scientists reported to the rest of team they had detected a major Mars quake on December 24th. The crater was first spotted on February 11th, 2022, by scientists working at Malin Space Science System (MSSS), which built and operates two cameras aboard MRO. The context cameras (CTX) provide black and white medium resolution images, while the Mars colored imager Mars CI produces daily maps of the entire planet, allowing scientists to track large scale weather changes like the recent regional dust storm that further diminished inside solar panel. The impact blast zone was visible in Mars CI data that allowed the team to pin down a 24-hour period within which the impact occurred. These observations correlated with the seismic epicenter, consequently demonstrating that a meteoroid impact caused that large December 24th Mars quake. The image of the impact was unlike any I had seen before, with the massive crater, the exposed ice, and the dramatic blast zone preserved in the Martian dust, said Lilia Poziolova, who leads the orbital science operation groups at MSSS. I couldn't help but imagine what it must have been like to witness the impact, the atmospheric blast and debris ejected miles downrange, establishing the rate at which craters appeared on Mars is critical for refining the planet geologic timeline on older surfaces, such as those of Mars and our moon. These are more craters than our Earth on our planet. The process of erosion and plate tectonics, it is older. Features from the surface. New craters also expose materials below the surface. In this case, large chunks of ice scattered by the impact were viewed by MRO's high resolution imaging science experiment HI RISE colored camera. Subsurface ice will be a vital resource for astronauts who could use it for a variety of needs, including drinking water, agriculture, and rocket propellant. Buried ice has never been spotted this close to the Martian equator, which, as the warmest part of Mars, is an appealing location for astronauts. So these are the studies, these are the identifying given by on the NASA inside, on the lander studying, on the Mars itself. So I mean, many of the people are interested in the Mars insights that how it's going to be acclimated or converted into an Earth, or the mission by many of the people, mostly on top of that and famous. We only know Elon Musk is one of them. So, I mean, great man, great finding on the Mars planet. So, it's in a last article of this project, sorry, of this podcast. So, and yes, at last, I just want to say, you guys, keep researching, stay curious, stay healthy.